Once upon a time, before the rain began.
Today is nothing short of a miracle. What you're going to hear about today, made possible only through years of research. Dramatically new. What you hear about today is nothing short of a miracle.
I got into a little thing earlier today on the internet, as you do sometimes, with someone who was advising calm and saying it simply is not a good idea to say things like World War III or collapse of empire or apocalypse. But guess what? Ya tenemos el apocalipsis. ¿Sí? Ya tenemos. It's here, right? We have apocalypse at home. Okay? You know, in my art, in my music, whatever it is, it's always about, at the end of the day, rethinking the lies we have been told and building alternative systems concurrent to these, right? Because as the train of capitalism, it's going off the tracks, okay? It's going off the tracks, babes. And what we're doing right now is we're literally building a train alongside it that people can jump off onto, and we can head into a better future together, right? Or we stay on capitalism, keep trying to aspire to their false gods, to their money, to their dollars, to their billionaires, to their Met Galas, to their Oscars, to their Coachellas, right? We can keep aspiring to that, keep paying attention to it, keep feeding it, right? And we all die. And that's not hyperbole.
Hello darlings, here is your Infinity Garden update for the 7th of May 2023. We got a late start this year because of weather and life, but here we are. As I mentioned before, this is not the ideal space, so what I do is first cut down all of the hedges so that I get the most light. That's the east-facing direction. I only get direct sunlight for 3 to 6 hours a day, depending on the time of year, so I like to optimize it as much as possible. They just had a new fence put in, so as you can see, everything is in the center, so now I'm going to design the way it's going to be laid out for this year. But first, a little visit from the dogs upstairs. Then we are back to work, just beginning to move things around, and one of the branches here is overhanging a bit for light, so we're going to cut that. To reiterate, one of my favorite things about container gardening as opposed to raised beds is that everything is totally movable and modular. For light, for guests, for using the backyard for other things, for any reason, and even up to and including taking the entire thing and putting it in the back of a truck and moving it to a totally different location. This method keeps what I think is the best of all possible worlds for a city environment, giving both versatility and maximum yields. Another good thing about it is that you can put plants closer together, but you might need to give a little bit more space because they are in individual separate vessels, so their root structures won't be interfering with each other, etc., etc. Now to decide where everything is going to go, you can see I'm thinking about it right here. And since I got a late start, I'm not going from seed, but from starter plants. I make sure to get my starter plants from a local garden shop as opposed to one of the big box places, just to keep more of the money in the community. And as you can see, we're going from that kind of chaotic start to things taking shape more the way they're going to look. Now that we've got the basic layout, I've got some starter plants also from a neighbor that I share plants with basically every year. It's been 5 or 6 years now that we've been giving each other starter plants or sharing fruits or plants, etc., etc. This year they gave me 5 sunflower starters, so I'm hoping to get at least a few of those to grow. They're just great beacons and they look lovely. And now that I've put in a few of the kale plants and the sunflower plants, I am adding some rich compost to the top of the soil. I did things a little bit out of order because I got a late start, and I know that when night falls, it falls hard, so I'm anticipating that happening relatively soon. There are so many reasons to grow your own food. I produce about 70% of my own fresh produce from the time when plants start maturing until fall or even beginning winter. For political, for community building, for social reasons, it's a great thing to do. A little ritual to bless the space, and that's our day.
Hey, and wait.
Hey darlings, so as you know, I do the harvest when hungry method rather than harvesting it all at the end so I can keep eating all season long. And so for today's omelet, I grabbed some dinosaur kale and some dandelion greens. Take a look at how big this kale is. And also for spices, of course, we got some basil, we got some oregano and some Cuban oregano. I'm not going to use all this, but I'm going to chop up the leaves and the oregano, and we've got everything. I'll just add a little bit of garlic and some eggs, and we're good to go.
What separates you from the competition? What makes you special?
What competition?
Here is your Infinity Garden update. We are in the middle of August. I believe it's the 19th. And this is what the garden looks like right now. I just finished doing a harvest and I wanted to share that with you after just giving you a little glimpse of what it looks like. A little messy but flourishing. And here is today's harvest. As you can see, I've got pretty much everything the garden has to offer on here. We've got the volunteers here, the lamb's quarters, and there's some purslane under here. And then we have the mint, we have tomatoes at various stages. We've got the herbs over here. We've got sage, we've got rosemary, we've got also basil. We've got some cucumbers. these long boys here, and a white eggplant, some sweet potato leaves, and the ever-present kale.
Preppers should share their plans with neighborhood and neighbors and community. Now, obviously, you don't want to give away the whole game. You know what I mean? Don't tell I'm not telling you half of what, my personal situation is, right? But I want to tell you enough that you can get started and, et cetera, because, we want people to get the idea, and we want to educate. We can't just keep everything, close to the vest because we're afraid somebody's going to, that's not what we're about, right? But anyway, back to gardening. This is my garden situation. This is the beginning of the season. And as you can see, it is not in ground. It is all in mostly repurposed 5-gallon buckets and fabric cloth bags that are not that expensive. And, I'm using like milk crates that I picked up from all around everywhere, and just, flower pots that people either gave me or I found or whatever. And I grow enough food I think there's like 66 planters in total. I have fruits, I have vegetables, and, it's just me. So I have enough. I mean, I produce enough food to feed, like, I don't have to buy fresh vegetables throughout summer, like starting spring until basically, I think there's actually one kale plant that has still survived because kale's super frost hardy. Kale's like the star of the garden. I think it's the thing that you should probably grow the most of. Arugula would be second because arugula grows pretty fast. And it's also very, it's very healthy, it's nutritious, it's tasty, but it is not good in the heat of summer. The heat of summer will basically kill it off. So at the beginning and the end of the season, you'll get your arugula, and you can plant it again and get enough before the frost. So you do one crop in the beginning, one crop at the end, and kale you can just do all the way through. And what I do is harvest when hungry, which basically means, instead of, I don't chop the whole plant down at any point. I just go out and I pluck. I pluck for what I need. And what I'll do is, let me show you another picture of what it looks like, further along in the season, because that's just kind of the beginning. But then when you really get going, it's a lot. it's more than one person can make use of. There we go. Yeah, this is what it looks like.
Wow.
Not even at the end of the season. This is probably like midsummer. This is kind of the midsummer situation. Also, yes, somebody mentioned worm composting, food scraps, organic, all that. You can use all your stuff, and you can, use all your garbage, your compost, and you just, like, I have a worm composter. Put some worms in there, and you can harvest worms from underneath these things, right? So underneath each of these, it becomes moist because, you poke holes in the bottom of the buckets and, water, the nutrients run through and worms love it under there. So you don't even have to buy worms. You can just lift up, move around the pots, take some worms, throw them in the compost, and they help to break down your compost faster. So it also ends up being better for, just the environment, because you're just reusing more stuff. You're reducing the amount that you put into a landfill. And yeah, there's a wide variety. I've got plants. Obviously I've got plants. I've got herbs. I've got vegetables. I've got fruits. I've even got like witching herbs. Now, most soil in the city is polluted, sure. But A, there are ways to do soil remediation that are relatively inexpensive. B, if you have a little bit of money, you can just buy some soil and mix it in with existing soil. Also, most plants, and you need to look this up because I don't remember off the top of my head, but even if you're using polluted soil, there are lots of plants that essentially clean the soil as they grow. And by the time you're talking about the actual leaves, the leaves and that's what you would actually eat don't have the same level of pollution as the soil does. But that's something you should look into yourself. But it is kind of a common misconception that like you can't grow food in the city because the soil's too polluted. Also, another thing is I can't legally recommend guerrilla gardening because it's not legal. And also, you should take indigenous, the word of indigenous people on what you should be growing in a certain area, what will not be invasive. But if I could recommend illegal things like guerrilla gardening in situations like this, I certainly might, but I can't, so I won't. And also, rooftop gardens. We need to have gardens on every rooftop in every city. Why? Because every time it rains in New York City, it floods now. And that's just because of climate change. It's just going to keep happening. But the other thing that gardens do is they slow down how fast water gets from the sky into the sewers. So it actually helps with water sequestration. And if you had roof gardens all over rooftops all over the place, first of all, that promotes community, right? Because there's people who say don't have jobs or they're older and they just are looking for something to do. They could just go up there and tend the garden. You know what I mean? And if it's in buckets like this, you don't have to worry too much. Obviously getting it up there, that'll be a thing, right? But like beyond that, it's just something that you can keep doing, and you keep replenishing the soil using the garbage and the compost and the food scraps from that building. It's something that's totally doable. And here's the thing. People are like, well, you could never feed everybody in the city with just a bunch of rooftop gardens and community gardens and backyard gardens. Okay, maybe not. But it'd sure be a whole lot better than what we got now. You know what I mean? And that's like my big thing about prepping and about, self-defense and everything, right? There's always going to be some goony bird who's going to tell you like, oh, that'll never work, or that technique will never work, or like, oh, somebody will just take that gun from you, or oh, whatever they're going to say. They're going to say something, right? And what am I supposed to do? Just sit here? Of course not. Of course not. And lastly, we have, I think, been taught by both society and just kind of like by the way that the ideologies work, that being a leftist, being a person who is for the people, being a person who is based in love, means that you have to be weak. And fuck that, right? Radical love is about protecting people at all and any costs. It's about seeing someone who is basically has chosen evil, and I don't mean that in like the Christianic way, but you know what I mean. Yeah. They've chosen to do bad things. That person, you need to protect other people against. And you need to not feel one way or the other about it. Because you are there with a mission to do good. And there's lots of people that like to do, like, oh, well, everybody thinks they're doing the right thing. Fuck that. No, they do not. That is not true. That's just not true. Some people know they're fucking doing wrong. You know what I mean? And so we need more people on our side who have, the heart and the radical fervor and the strength to be like, look, I'm learning to make my body strong. I'm learning to make my community strong so that we can use, we need weapons, right? Mm-hmm. And weapons are physical, they are mental, they are emotional, but strength needs to be reassociated with true populism, with true for the people action.
Happy Monday and happy Cancer season, folks. I'm reporting from Sweden, bringing you a quick little report for this relatively quiet week in the stars. Today is Monday, June 22nd, and there's not much to report today, astrologically speaking. Tomorrow, Tuesday, June 23rd, the moon moves from Libra into sultry, spooky Scorpio late in the evening if you're on the West Coast, or early morning on Wednesday, June 24th for the rest of us. Not much else going on Wednesday, but then Thursday, June 25th brings us a couple transits to discuss. The first one is more pleasant, as Venus will form a trine to Saturn from about 14 degrees of Leo over to 14 degrees of the fellow fire sign Aries. So there's a nice easeful flow between these two planets on Thursday morning. And this Venus-Saturn trine can help to stabilize our relationships, especially if we need to set some boundaries or face a challenge together, for example. This trine can bring more focus to our creative projects as well, especially with Venus now in the expressive sign of Leo. This transit encourages more sustainability and strategy in our finances and our resource management, if you will, so it's a good day to work on that kind of thing. And this aspect can also just help us to live out our Venusian values with more Saturnian integrity. So there's a lot to like here on Thursday. But the second transit of this day is more challenging, as the sun is squaring Neptune from 4 degrees of Cancer to 4 degrees of Aries. And this is an aspect that can kind of drain and sap our energy. It can leave us feeling a bit foggy and confused. We might be more vulnerable to illusions and delusions and misinformation for a while. We might just experience like a spike in compassion fatigue, and our intuition and sensitivities might just be a little kind of off on this day. So it's good to be intentional with how we spend our energies around Thursday afternoon and evening. It's a good time to check in on your boundaries, try not to overextend yourself, process any friction or obstacles that are coming up. Pay attention to your dreams. Notice any messages or signs you might be getting. Just take your time feeling into them and thinking about how or whether to act on them. All right, then on Friday, June 26th, the moon moves on into adventurous philosophical Sagittarius. And then Saturday, June 27th brings us a pretty nice transit with the planet Mars forming a sextile to Jupiter from the last degree of Taurus to 29 degrees of Cancer, because both of these planets are about to change signs very soon. But with Jupiter in this stimulating relationship to Mars, we'll probably bounce back pretty quickly from the draining effects of that Sun-Neptune square, because this is a transit that can expand our energy, drive, will, and motivation. It can make us more brave, more direct, more assertive. It encourages us to acknowledge our desires, to express what we want, and to go after it. This is also a great time to really get grounded in your body, to move and play and just do what feels good. And this is a transit that can help us to protect and defend and care for what's important to us, whether that's ourselves, our loved ones and communities, our values, the planet, etc. Then finally on Sunday, June 28th, Mars will move into the sign of Gemini. And again, with this transit, we might feel a boost of energy as Mars goes from slow, steady Taurus into quick, curious Gemini, although it might be a little hard to harness that energy in like a specific focus direction. But you may just feel more of a general drive to learn, think, communicate, and explore. Also, wherever Mars is, it activates our courage, right? So for the next 5 or so weeks with Mars and Gemini, we'll be a little bit braver about speaking up, a little more empowered about using our voices. But by the same token, Mars also shows us where we can expect conflict. And in this case, we're talking about verbal arguments and fights in comment sections, for example. So just be aware of that. I have a Gemini Mars in my own birth chart, and while it can be a very helpful resource sometimes, I also just really recommend thinking before you speak, editing before you post, and just being careful about throwing out barbs and cutting words that you won't be able to take back. So something to keep in mind. Now, that's it for this week, but before I wrap up here, I do want to give you all a heads up about next Monday, June 29th, because it's a big day astrologically. There are 3 big transits happening that day, and I'll talk more about them in detail next week. But because Monday will pretty much be over by the next time you see me, I just want you to be prepared for what's coming up. So first of all, on Monday the 29th, Mercury will go retrograde in the sign of Cancer. And listen, it's not the end of the world. Mercury retrogrades happen all the time. It's nothing to freak out about. But if you need to send any important communications, sign any documents or contracts, do anything like logical or detail-oriented that you really need to stay on track, I recommend trying to wrap that up this week before things get soupier with that retrograde. Then on Monday evening, we'll have a full moon in Capricorn. So that might be a good time to do a little ritual, to release something you need to let go of, to work on recalibrating your work-life balance, etc. And then finally, late on Monday evening / early the next morning, depending on your time zone, the planet Jupiter will move from Cancer into Leo for the next year. So we're about to enter a period of both wrestling with our egos, but also expanding our creative self-expression. So stay tuned for more on that next Monday. But for now, that's all for this week's Astrological Weather Report. I'm Alice Pope. Logan, back to you.
Listen, all I'm saying is if I genuinely care about you and you cause me unnecessary trauma, somebody's getting hit with a truck. Now we're both healing.
Do you think you could voice act a villain? I prepared 3 short villain scripts for you to try out. Duet this and show us if you're evil enough. Good luck.
Well, 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 what do we have here? A little lamb come to play with the wolf. You're just in time. I was just getting hungry. You are no more significant than insects to me. I have conquered kingdoms, defeated armies, slain gods. So I suggest you give up now. There's no such thing as heroes and villains. We're all villains. It's just that those who live to tell the tale will always paint themselves as the heroes.
If you want to learn a lot about someone, watch 2 things. 1, what they will believe without evidence, and 2, what they won't believe despite evidence. Repeat that as many times as you need to. Because the other thing is all this nonsense about us, you got to heal on your own. And you cannot heal relational things on your own. You simply cannot. You can't. It doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. It's illogical to think that you can heal relational wounds in isolation or just talking to your therapist. That doesn't make any sense. No, the way that you heal relational wounds is by learning, making better choices about who you allow to be in relationship with you, cutting off the ones who don't know how to act right, and loving up the ones that do. And also putting yourself out there to maybe be hurt, right? But it's the trust fall of it all, right? All of what we need to do right now, it's a series of trust falls. Whatever community you're building, whatever groups, squads you're forming in order to fight back against this is a horrible, horrible system, right? Everything is important. Every action is important. Every relationship is important. You can't do it alone. Can't do it alone. You have to put yourself out there to be hurt, potentially, and then watch as you have chosen better, and those people do not hurt you. And in fact, they help you. That's the healing. The healing is in falling and being caught. And that is part of what we need to be doing for the rest of the world, right? That's why we're creating these systems. That's why we've put together the House of Infinity. That is why we've put together this show, so that we can create systems where other people who are like curious but are scared, where they can jump and we can be like, I got you. I got you. We got you. And you got us. And that's how we're going to fucking get out of this.
Hello friends, welcome back to the Infinity Garden. It's been a while since I did a full update, so let's have a look at what we've got. As you can see, it's looking pretty lush, if I do say so myself. We've got all kinds of kale. It's such that I can basically pluck every day, something for, 1 or 2 meals at least. I might do every meal except for, I love kale, but I will get sick of it as well if I ate nothing but that. But look at this spinach. It took a while to come up, and it's a very finicky plant. But now that it's blossoming, it's really blossoming. This is a citronella type plant, just to rub on myself and keep away the mosquitoes. And the tomatoes are coming in, all kinds of tomatoes. Got some of these, and then up here we've got these, and behind there some grape tomatoes, and a different kind of cherry back in there. Really lovely. We've also got some flowers and some other ornamental type deals happening. These were in full bloom a little bit ago, and now they're starting to die off, but that's okay. And over here we've got some peas. They're not, oh, here we go, look at this. Some little cuties. I'm definitely going to eat those later. Some peppers are coming in. This is, I believe, a chocolate mint. Really delicious. And like one leaf it's very potent. And over here, I will be the first to admit that I forgot what I planted in here, and some of these are so-called weeds. But I believe this is something called wood sorrel, which is edible, which is why I left it here. Because it grows here naturally, it just pollinates itself. And that's a jelly melon cucumber right over here, and this one. All in all, things are looking pretty wonderful. And again, this is just to show what can be done living in New York City with, just half of a backyard, not even the whole backyard. And I did it a little bit more, I spaced it out better this year, but it's not totally optimized and could be done even better than I have done it in terms of spacing and what's growing where, etc., etc. I think the next move will be to move things around so that everything has more space to grow and can get, more of that direct hot sunlight we're getting. This is going to be really, really important for us to be doing just all over the country. We see now that, we knew that climate change wasn't a myth and we believed it, but I think that even those of us that believed it didn't realize just how serious it was going to be and how quickly and how much it was going to affect our lives directly. This is going to have been the coolest summer of the rest of our lives. Growing our own food in containers, especially in places where we can, move things around and have better access to water, is going to be really important. I want to see a garden like this in every backyard and on every rooftop, all over places, especially like the city, because quite frankly, I think we will see crop failures in places that are usually used to grow food. And places like this where, you can grow anything in just a container are going to be important in filling those gaps and filling our community fridges and, just keeping ourselves and each other fed. And there is nothing more important than that. Without food, we have nothing. Much love to you, my friends, comrades, loves, darlings, fellow witches, everyone. Stay cool metaphorically, because it will not be possible to do literally. Much love.
Right? Because, ignore the false flag bullshit. There's going to be false flag upon false flag. The problems that are going to happen are not going to be from like sleeper cells. Please. You're going to hear a bunch of shit about that every time I want you to push back against it. Because it's just to manufacture consent. It's just to get us more Islamophobic than this country already fucking was. When we're the ones who started all the problems. And guess what? The nightmare hasn't ended in Gaza. It's still happening. The ceasefire, a brilliant ruse. A brilliant, brilliant ruse. You say, oh yes, we stopped, and then you don't stop. But a lot of the people who listen especially to the news and who are willing to go along with whatever the mainstream news tells them, they're like, oh, wasn't there a ceasefire? Because I heard ceasefire, and I really wanted to stop caring about it. So when I heard ceasefire, I assumed that we had ceased firing, when that never fucking happened. I can think of another thing that the government said had ended that did not, that people are still suffering every day because they said that it stopped and it did not ever stop, because they wanted to keep the gears running, because they never wanted us to get a chance to slow down again and think about what we were actually doing, how we were actually living. Y'all got to remember 2020. It wasn't that long ago, right? It was the largest protest movement wave in American history. And that, more than basically anything, is the reason that they ended the pandemic. Because they were like, wait, when people get a chance to slow down and actually get a couple of dollars to keep living, they go, oh, wait, let me think about my life and who I want to be. And people started getting queerer, and people started learning about their neurodivergence and learning about the American empire and educating each other and getting closer and unifying. And they said, absolutely the fuck not. Right? Pandemic times often lead to fascism because there is a greater clampdown, and also because the general public buys into the idea that some lives are expendable. And once you start thinking that, and there's a caveat on that, which I'll get back to later. Once you start thinking that some lives are expendable, you've become a fascist, babes. You've become a fascist. And there's one caveat to that I just mentioned. And the caveat is, unless You are fighting against the people who have declared themselves happily and openly as the fascists. Because there's only one response to fascism. And I can't say what it is, but you know what it is. And maybe it's not your particular job to do that thing. But there's a million other ways that you can contribute to that effort. You know? And you need to start doing more of it. Right? Why do you know people who work for fucking the Frozen Water Boys? Right? If you know any of them, they should never have a functioning full tire as long as you draw breath.
Where are you? You talk about invisibility and then retreat to your homes to nest with your lovers or carouse in a bar with pals and stumble home in a cab or sit silently and politely by while your family, your boss, your neighbors, your public servants distort and disfigure us, deride us and punish us. Then home again, and you feel like screaming. Then you pad your anger with a relationship, or a career, or a party with other queers like you, and still you wonder why we can't find each other. Why do I feel so lonely, angry, alienated? Get up. Wake up, my friends. Your life is in your hands. When I risk it all to be out, I risk it for both of us. When I risk it all and it works, which it often does if you would try it, I benefit and so do you. When it doesn't work, I suffer and you don't. But girl, you can't wait for other queers to make the world safer for you. Stop waiting for a better, more queer future. The revolution could be here if we started it. Where are you, my friend? I'm trying to find you. I'm trying to find you. How come I only see you on Gay Pride Day? We're out. Where the fuck are you? Wow!
Hello everyone, it is time for another little Infinity Garden update, and given everything that's happening, I just wanted to, in addition to showing you what's going on right now, just remind you that the best thing about a container garden is how portable it is. Without having to name any of the particular catastrophes that are going on, and that is a target-rich environment, I'm sure you can imagine how it could be useful to be able to move your entire garden if you needed to. And just remember, right about now, it's an emergency time, so anything you can do is better than nothing. Do whatever you can for whomever you can.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because your vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Right now, we're entering into a time where things are worse, right? Because there are periods of relative calm, historically speaking. Even if you're living under a tyrannical nightmare of a country like we do in this one, there are times that are more overtly bad and more, and worse underneath the surface. And to see going from the early days of Hollywood where Black people were literally only allowed to be on screen if they were like maids or porters or in some sort of service, position, to like sinners, now breaking, and of course it would be a black person who breaks all the records for like Oscars given, right? Or like nominations. But then also, I'm going to also caution us as we celebrate those changes. We also have to keep in mind the greater context, which is fuck the Oscars. Fuck the Oscars. Burn Hollywood, burn. Right? We should not be aspiring to win in a world that was intended to destroy us. Right?
I hear everything. Those aren't voices in your head. They're just the echoes of your indecision. Don't ask me. Ask yourself.
In all of these systems, the cruelty is inherent. You cannot appease them. And we are past the point where voting right, acting right, not saying things out loud, we're past the point where any of that is going to save you. And we've been past that point. But now what they're trying to do is they're showing you, rather than giving white people more stuff in order to get them to buy in, now they're like, actually, now we don't have to give you anything. We'll just beat your ass too. We'll shoot you in the face too. And you better fucking comply. So what I'm saying is, don't. Do not comply. Refuse. There is no business as usual. It is all canceled. Okay?
He died of natural causes.
You pushed him off the roof.
Yeah, gravity. It's natural.
And we are all feeling angry right now because of the world that has been taken from us. And that is something that we need to carry, right? You should be the rageful and angry, non-binary, trans, queer person that you are, because there's a lot to be angry about, right?